What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today, we're just going to be doing another video talking about the 4th Anniversary Sugo-Fest. I've uploaded 2 videos already discussing the whole Sugo-Fest. We've talked about the Sugo Structure. We've discussed about all of the units in this Sugo-Fest. And since those videos have been released, I've noticed a bunch of comments, like over half the comments are literally about, I have this many gems, which part should I pull on? And I mean, literally I remember last year's Sugo-Fest, like when I was streaming a lot, literally like in the stream, I would get a question asked like every minute, you know, which part should I pull on? Which part should I pull on? I have this many gems, I'm missing these units. What part should I pull on? So hopefully in this video, I can give you guys the guidance as to where you should be going ahead, spending your rainbow gems to get the most out of them. So let's go ahead, quickly, briefly go over this, and then we'll go over to an infographic that was made by one of the users over on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit. So here we are on the Sugo-Fest right here. We've already discussed all of this. The main thing we want to go to, though, is the SugoFest structure here. So we know that every single part of the Sugo-Fest, they're roughly the same with some minor differences on each part. So with part 1 and part 2 and part 3, the first multi and the 4th multi are 30 rainbow gems, which is great. Always good to have discounts, helps out a lot of players, which is great. The second multi-pull on part 1 is a guaranteed legend from a select pool of legends. So if we go down the bottom here, we can see that if you go ahead and pull on part number 1, you can get a legend on the second multi that is guaranteed to be one of these characters. Now, if you're missing a majority of these characters, I think immediately part 1 would be a good call because you get a high chance of getting something new. But I mean, a lot of these characters are really old, so like, it doesn't really matter, you know, that you're getting a legend on on the second multi of part 1. It really doesn't matter too much because, I mean, yeah, like, Big Mom and Brook are both here, but I reckon, like, I know from experience, Bandai are most likely going to have them really lowly rate boosted for this particular pull, and all of these old legends are going to be really highly rate boosted. So I would say on the second pull of part 1, do not expect to get anything too crazy. Continuing on though, the 3rd, 6th, and 8th multi-pull are guaranteed to be a legend. The 9th multi is guaranteed Whitebeard. So immediately, as soon as I see that, if you have enough to do 9 multi-pulls, part 1 is the way to go. It just makes a lot of sense. We already know how good Whitebeard is. He's a top tier legend, at least a tier 1. I wouldn't say he's tier 0, but he's definitely a tier 1 legend. And if you have enough to do 9 multi-pulls, then this is the part that you should be pulling on. Now with this, remember the 1st and the 4th are 30 rainbow gems, so I think it costs 410 rainbow gems to get to the 9th multi of part number 1. If you have that, do the 9 multis for this Whitebeard. He is going to be so freaking strong. Additionally, if you have enough to keep going further, then on the next multi after it is a recommended SugoFest exclusive character. So that means that it is guaranteed to be Brook, Big Mom, Aokiji, or Akainu V2, Tezoro, V2 Dofi, Judge, Magellan, Dex, Kung Fu Luffy, Cat Viper, Dogstorm, Buggy. So the 10th multi is guaranteed to be one of those units. Hopefully the good characters are rate boosted quite well. And then 12th and 15th obviously are really good. Now part 2 is slightly different. It's essentially the same structure, but the second multi is not a guaranteed legend. The second multi, you're guaranteed to get that log ace character. Now if you went and actually went and saw my last video where I broke down this character, this ace is so good. Like, this ace is no joke. He's so strong. He's got such a useful, utility-based special ability, and I think that it's going to help out a lot of players. So obviously part 2 having that ace guaranteed is fantastic. Like the other part, 368 is a guaranteed legend, 10th recommended legend, and then 12th and 15th recommended legend with max special. So for part 2, the characters that are rate boosted, we've got, that's part 1. Part 2 is Lin Lin, Katakuri, Whitebeard Marco, Luffy and Ace, V2 Shanks, Shiki, V2 Fuji, Lucy, V2 Law, version 1 Sanji, Shirahoshi, and Hody Jones. I feel like that boosted list is much better than part 1. So I don't know, I'm kind of biased, but I do think that part 2's boosted list is a little bit better in terms of the characters that you could potentially get. Now, that's for part 2. On part 3, it's essentially the exact same thing, except the slight change here is that instead of getting Ace on the second multi, you get VV. Now, VV, once again, another really good unit. I feel like Ace is slightly better, but VV is still pretty useful to get as well. And then, obviously, 368, Legend, 10, and the 12th and 15th are recommended legends. So, for part 3, we have Brook, the new Sabo, Quick Luffy, the Gear 4 Luffy, Nami, V2 Sanji, who's really good, Nico Robin, V2 Rayleigh, Frankie, V2 Boa, we've got Garp here as well. Garp's very, very nice to have, Usopp, and Zoro. So that's the whole breakdown of the characters and the SugoFest exclusives that you can get from this SugoFest, and, you know, just talking about the SugoFest structure. So, as I said, if you have 450 gems or 410 rainbow gems, part 1, easy, hands down. However, if you do not have enough to do 9 multi-pulls to get that guaranteed Whitebeard, it's going to be a little bit different for you. So let's go ahead and switch over to the infographic. Alright, so now we are over on this infographic, kindly created by Timino on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit. Thank you so much for that. So let's go ahead and start discussing this. This is like a breakdown of the characters that are rate boosted for this particular part. I'm trying to get it so you guys can see all the rate boosts on the screen. It's going to be a little bit wonky of a video, but hopefully you guys are still going to stick around for it. So here are the full rate boosts for all these characters here. Now, we can see part 1. Part 1 has Brook and Big Mom, which are obviously the 2 new units. V2, Akainu, and Cruzan are amazing units to get a hold of. Gil Tesoro, also very useful. V2 Doflamingo is always going to be nice to have. Then you've got Judge, Magellan, Kung Fu Luffy, Neko Mamashi, and Inu Arashi, as well as Legend Buggy. Okay, so now, this batch of characters is quite nice because, I mean, Brook and Big Mom, they're the new characters. They're going to be boosted in the next treasure map, and, I mean, they're still good legends at the end of the day, so it's always going to be nice to get a hold of those guys. V2, Akainu, and Aokiji, freaking a god tier. These characters are freaking amazing. Always really good to have. Then you got Gil Tesoro, who's a really good sub as a captain. A little bit difficult to use, I would say, but he's pretty good. Doflamingo, we already know how good he is, of course. And then the rest, I mean, Judge is actually pretty solid as well, especially because his 6+ Evolution Island is pretty much available all the time now on the unlockable missions on the top right-hand corner of Extra Island. So you can unlock his mission to get those skulls whenever you need them, so that's quite nice. But then we've got Magellan, we've got Kung Fu Luffy, and like, you got the rest of these characters are just whatever. But honestly, at this point, it really comes down to how many of these characters are you missing, or how many of them do you want, of course. As we said with part 1, if you have enough to do the 9 multis, do the 9 multis for Whitebeard. It makes a lot of sense because he's going to be a good character for a reasonably long time. So that's what I would suggest in terms of part 1. But then you go over to part 2. Now, part 2 is a little bit more interesting because we've got characters like Big Mom is boosted, and Brook is no longer a rate boosted character on part 2. We've got V1 Katakuri, who is my boy, Mr. Slam Jam. Just rainbowed him, of course, he's amazing. Whitebeard and Marco, oh my god. Luffy and Ace, oh my god. V2 Shanks, oh my god. Shiki, okay, we got Shiki, we got V2 Fujitora, Lucy, we got version 2 Law, V1 Sanji, who should be getting his 6+ next month, so that's going to be exciting. Shirahoshi is always really good to have, and Hody's not too bad as well for speed farming, of course. But, I mean, that entire top row, hello? That entire top row is like tier 1+. Like, that top row is insane. If you get a hold of all 5 of those characters, you're set. Like, that's... Like, if we compare, right, if we compare the 2 top rows, we've got, there's no comparison. Part 2, I feel, is a much more superior part compared to part 1. But, as I said, it does come down to the rate boosted characters that you are missing, and that can really determine as to, like, where you should be pulling for this particular SugoFest. Big Mom, big thumbs up, especially with her 6+ coming. Katakuri, my boy. Whitebeard and Marco, best legend in the game. Luffy and Ace, very close to being up there with best legend in the game. Shanks, always really good to have. And then the rest of these are good. I mean, Lucy's still pretty solid, obviously. He's still going to do stuff. And then you got Shirahoshi as well. Shiki's like whatever. But the rest of them are kind of just filler characters. And, I mean, honestly, it really comes down to, as I said, how many of these guys are you missing? Like, if you're missing this entire top row, go for it. Go for part 2, because part 2 is going to be so, so nice. But then again, if you have enough to do the 9 multis, do part 1. Now, the last one that we're going to be talking about is part 3 of the SugoFest. If I could just go ahead and extend that out. There we go. So you guys can see part 3 here. We have Legend Brook is boosted, V3 Sabo, Gear 4 Luffy, Nami, and V2 Sanji. That entire top row, once again, is really nice. I say Brook is like the iffy one, but these 4 characters right here, easily top tier characters. Really, really nice to have. Robin she's okay. She can still do stuff. Rayleigh's kind of on the downtrend. He's not really as amazing anymore. Frankie gets his 6+ next month, which makes him very powerful. V2 Boa is kind of trash. Garp is an insanely powerful sub to get a hold of. So if you get him, he's really nice to have. Captain Effect is disappointing though, and then we've got really disappointing characters as rate boosts here. So once again, it's like this entire top row is like insane to have, and it's the same with part 2, right? It's the same with part 2. It's just like this entire top row is insane, and it really comes down to what are you missing? What are you missing in this particular SugoFest? And that's the part that you should be pulling on, and that's really what I say in most videos. Like if you're missing, like let's say if you have nearly all of them in part 1, but you're missing like nearly all of them on part 3, it makes sense to go for part 3 because you're missing all of these characters. But the guaranteed Whitebeard, I think no matter what, if you have enough to do 9, go for part 1 Whitebeard. But after that, it really comes down to what are you missing? What characters are you missing? Obviously, at this point in time, we don't actually know what rare recruits are rate boosted. I would expect, though, because it is global, and they did this last anniversary as well, that the entire new batch of characters, so Smoothie, Daifuku, Perospero, and Cracker, they should all be boosted on all 3 parts, so that makes sense. Part 2 will have the new Ace rate boosted, and Part 3 will have the new VV rate boosted. And I don't think you'll be able to pull the Ace or VV outside of those parts. That's what I believe is going to happen. But rate boosted rare recruits is going to be quite important as well. So we don't really know the rare recruits that are going to be rate boosted here. But in terms of the legend characters, definitely part 1 with 9 multis if you have it. If you don't, you really got to take a look at this list here and see what characters you're missing. Like myself personally, obviously don't have the new legends, I don't have Kuzan, I don't have Kung Fu Luffy, and that's it. So part 1 for me is actually really bad. Now that's kind of sad because I definitely want to do 9 multis for that new Whitebeard. So I guess if I pull the Whitebeard early, or like, yeah, if I pull the Whitebeard early, or I'm not going to go past 9 multis, but part 2 for me is actually where I think I want to be spending my gems, because I want Whitebeard Marco, I want Luffy and Ace, Big Mom would be nice to get a hold of as well, and I don't have Shiki either, I don't have Shirahoshi either, and I don't have V1 Sanji either on my account. So for me, like, this is the way that you should be looking at it. For me, part 2 is actually really good. I'm missing a lot of characters. Part 3, also really good for me because I'm missing Sabo, Luffy, Nami, V2 Sanji, missing Frankie. I don't have V2 Boa on the account. So like even part 3 and part 2, both insanely good parts that you should be looking at, but it just comes down to your account. Now, let's say you're starting a fresh account, and you don't know where to start. I would suggest pulling part 2. I think part 2 has the most solid arrangement of characters. You have access to Big Mom, you have access to Whitebeard Marco, you have access to Shanks, you have access to Lucy. All of those characters that I just mentioned are very, very good for beginner players. And especially if you re-roll, get a Gear 4 account, and then you go ahead and do pulls on part 2, I feel like that's the best way to go ahead and spend your rainbow gems, because part 2 I feel has the best list of rate boosted characters overall. Obviously Gear 4 Luffy's on part 3, but if you can get him from re-rolling, that's obviously really good. And I know a lot of people really want to get their hands on Gear 4 Luffy, but I mean, just me looking at it, I think part 2 is better because Whitebeard Marco, in my opinion, is a more superior unit. You also have the chance to get Luffy and Ace, V2 Shanks, Katakuri, Big Mom. Obviously, all legends are available on all parts, but you have the rate boost, which are very, very important to look at. So that's basically the breakdown. So there's kind of steps that you should be going through and deciding where to be pulling. Number 1, do you have enough for 9 multis? If you do the 9 multis on part 1 for that Whitebeard, because he's like an easy tier 1 character that everyone can get a hold of as long as you have 9 multi-pulls. If you do not have 9 multi-pulls, you have to look at what characters you're missing and go for that part, and the characters that you want to get. Like, let's say, like for me, like let's say hypothetically I didn't have V2 Akainu and I had a lot of the other characters on this listing. I really like V2 Akainu, so I'd probably do pulls for V2 Akainu, but it really comes down to what you're missing and what you want to get on your account. Part 2, I feel, is the best list of boosted characters just in general. The only bad hits that you'd get here are probably V1 Sanji, but he gets his 6+, which is going to make him good. Hody Jones isn't really the best of hits to get. V1 Law's kind of outdated now, though his 6+ is still relatively useful. And V2 Fujitora, I feel, is actually a pretty bad unit as well. But every other unit on here is a pretty good hit. And then for part 3, I mean, Brook, he is what he is. But then you got Usopp, Zoro, you got V2 Boa. I mean, even V2 Rayleigh to an extent. You've got a lot of like average to bad units on part 3, but I think part 2 overall is the best well-rounded part to go for. So hopefully this guys gives you, enough information as to where you should be spending your gems this anniversary. And I mean, there's not really much else I can say as to, you really just got to see what you have in your box and what you really want to get. So that's pretty much it. I really wanted to, convey this info to you guys because I had so many questions about it. So hopefully this helps you guys out. And if you guys liked it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.